Reluctant Enemies then, part of the Operational Combat series by the Gamers, published by MMP. Here we are in turn 8, end of the Commonwealth, half of the turn in turn 8. They've just had a double move because they went second in turn 7, I believe. Won the initiative in turn 8 and destroyed the remaining opposing forces in front of this river and have taken Sidon and consolidated their position right up against this river line and against the Vichy forces. This battle went extremely well for them. They totally outnumbered. They had something like 14 to 1 on that attack because they'd managed to disorganise the enemy with some, I forget whether it was artillery fire or whether it was aircraft or naval, I can't remember, but anyway, some sort of fire had disorganised that enemy. They had a huge attack. They actually ended up getting surprise on the attack as well, and it just ended up a colossal overrun. In this area, this was interesting. There was a very tough battle for Majayun under there, which these Australian battalions now control. But they took casualties on the way in, and they had to take, I think they took a casualty, and then they had to take an option to force the Vichy to take an option. So they got the worst of the battle, but decided to take them anyway. So they lost a couple of units going in. The Vichy decided that having lost 3 units in quick succession over here, they didn't want to lose more manpower, so they were going to exercise their option to retreat. The only retreat zone that they had to go to, though, these two battalions under that disorganised marker, they couldn't retreat across the escarpment. There you can see the grey sort of the grey and brown edging to that hex on the river line. They couldn't retreat into that hex there. They couldn't retreat over here because that was in a enemy zone of control, and that would have cost them, because they were already disorganised from artillery fire, that would have cost them a step loss anyway, so they might as well have taken the step loss and kept their hex. So the only place they had to retreat to was this, across the river into this hex here, which is a very, very, it's almost like they've crossed over into this coastal theatre, crossing that river line. They're halved if they try and attack back across it. They're disorganised. They almost feel like they should be out of supply, but amazingly, this 12-0 headquarters down here can keep them in supply. It's one truck movement point to those carts, and then they can trace a supply line all the way up through these tracks and across here through these hills and over there for 12. Well, I think 12 goes into that Beirut 15 hex, which is adjacent to them, and that's close enough. So they were able to retreat back into here, not take any losses, but now they're sort of strangely cut off from the main thrust of the combat, which is between these two rivers, and they've got escarpment blocking them if they try and cut back round in here. So really they've dropped into another theatre. And what that may mean is that there needs to be some sort of reorganisation and some rebalancing of forces by the Vichy anyway, which probably has to happen. They probably need a reserve in behind these forces here that are holding this river line, but with virtually nothing in between them and Beirut, which is an auto-victory location. So they probably need a force backing up at Demore at least to hold that river line. And also, now that this area is stripped of some forces, they also need a backup force to stop any breakthroughs on this road becoming catastrophic, which could happen quite quickly if with a good result, you know, some accurate artillery fire and a good combat result, and that could all be broken open very easily. And then you look over here at the Damascus area, and they've got its, you know, the Commonwealth and Free French are all the way back here, and they've got it so well locked down that I think they're going to have to do what I was talking about a video or so ago, releasing some forces from this theatre and swinging them back round into the Beirut area to form something of a reserve, which they don't have at the moment. So these units are probably going to trek their way back into this area and become the reserve here. And over on the Damascus theatre, some of this stuff is going to get pulled from somewhere and slid back round into this headquarters to form something of a reserve in behind there. And the Vichy are going to just, you know, pull out some of the force from here because they're so comfortably on top in this area, and you know they've got all this force here that's just not having to do any work at all because they're so in control, and their air force can cover them so effectively as well. Meanwhile, I've been thinking over on the Allied Commonwealth side. They have over here on the coast again, they have this 12-0 leader, and who can draw supply out of Haifa and essentially distribute it all the way up this coastal road to Beirut with truck movement. And so they've got an 8-0 leader here, effectively contributing nothing apart from a bit of a flak point or something, you know, something pretty irrelevant in the scheme of things. No, you know, that flak point is nice, but nowhere near as nice as having a couple of Hurricane squadrons sat in an airfield down here protecting you. So, really, not that major. And so I was thinking, well, what can that 8-0 leader do? What can they contribute? And then I looked and saw that on the reinforcement schedule on turn 10. There's another infantry, well, 3 battalions, and an artillery battalion. So, you know, an oversized regiment, or whatever you want to call it, brigade, coming in there with some supply. And I thought, well, if I swung with the Commonwealth, if I swung the headquarters over into this area, then I might be able to open up another line of attack down this road into these hills and looking at Damascus from that direction. Now, whether that will be a good use of those troops, I don't know. But log jamming them up behind these guys or behind these guys isn't necessarily going to be the most valuable use of them. So it could be that we can stretch the Vichy a little bit thinner with those troops by putting some threat down that road. I don't know whether that's I still don't know whether that's a good proposition or not. I'm still giving it some thought, but certainly it looks more tempting than just throwing them into these stacks. Although I may do some calculation and realise that they're going to be needed in those stacks. But I'd like the idea of opening up another line of attack through this place, Quneitra, down this road into Damascus. Whether that's viable or not, I'm going to have to give some more thought to. But I've got a couple of turns to consider it and to see how things develop elsewhere. End of turn 8, start of turn 9 in reluctant enemies. And so that means I've just done the Vichy section of the previous turn, Vichy phase, the Commonwealth of 1 initiative for turn 9, but let's just a quick recap on what the Vichy did, which wasn't a great deal, it has to be said, but they did extract some more revenge over here. This artillery stack DG'd and caused a casualty in there amongst those Australian Commonwealth divisions, battalions. So that was a battalion of infantry, a 633 infantry battalion that got taken out of combat. Up over here, just some reorganisation really. So there was some sort of moves to reorganise their defence a little bit. So the Vichy vacated this area around what's that called, Saint-Main, pulled back more into this area, and that freed up some troops that they then sent round, so that they have a reserve at Zala. I think they've got 3 battalions in there now, and these troops here are also slowly creeping their way back towards their own lines, drawing supply down these tracks. Now the Allies have, the Commonwealth have looked at shooting up here and cutting them out of supply, but I'm not sure whether there's much profit to it. They can probably slip into move mode and duck round any block unless they go up there in significant force, and then that might let the that risks letting the Vichy across the river. So we've got this standoff. They don't want to do that. Yeah, these troops just creeping probably back towards their own lines. We'll try and reinforce up here a backup force in Zala, which will come up this road to reinforce up here, and a less strung out defence of Damascus here. So the Vichy have sort of rebalanced where their forces are. They've also built themselves an air base in under here to give themselves some close fighter protection in on these forces. And that's about it. I could talk a little bit about air power, because I'm using a couple of rules from previous versions of OCS. I'm using pretty much the 4.1a rules as written, but there's a couple of air combat rules, one on advantage and one on getting a +1 defending your own airfields, that I'm using just to make fighter sweeps a little bit more risky, and to make escorting your own missions a little bit more worthwhile, less risky. So yeah, anything else that I want to say here? Not really. Oh yes, there is one other thing I was going to talk about. So we're coming into turn 9. Now Reluctant Enemies comes with two scenarios, and one is 21 turns long, that's the one I'm playing, and the other one I think is 9 turns. And essentially they both use exactly the same setup, exactly the same reinforcement schedule. So the game's identical, it's just that it only lasts 9 turns, and at the end of 9 turns you have to have achieved a lot less. I think that's roughly how it works. So you're let's have a look. Secure the Levant. Yeah, 9 turns. So exactly the same. June the 8th sets up 9 turns. But you just need a lot less victory points for your wins and so on. However, I looked at that, and I'll just pan down here to this table. If you look to the victory points, secure the Levant, which is the short 9-turn game. You need six victory points for the draw as the Commonwealth. If you've got 2 or less, it's a crushing Vichy victory. If you've got 6, it's a draw. If you've got 11 or more, it's a crushing Commonwealth victory. Well, at the moment, as far as I can tell, the Commonwealth have 2. They have a point for Merjayoun in there, and they have a point for Sidon in there, and I think that's their only 2 points. They've got nowhere near Damascus, which is 4 points, and they've got, you know, they need to be taking things down this road next to Mount Hermon down here to be getting points there, and they need to be up in these villages that you can sort of see here to be getting those points. I wonder if Jezin is worth any points. It's possible. So maybe they should slide up there and grab it. Let me just check. But anyway, I think they've got 2 points. I thought the Commonwealth weren't doing badly, but according to this, they are doing terribly. They are currently suffering. If the game was a short scenario, this would be a crushing defeat. You know, it would be an overwhelming Vichy victory. I didn't think the Vichy were doing that well. I thought it was a fairly even game, but what do I know? So there it is. I need to do better as the Commonwealth according to that. Maybe it's right. Anyway, I'm going to keep pressing on, crushing victory or not, and crushing defeat or not, and it's the Commonwealth turn. Reluctant Enemies, part of the OCS series by MMP Games. Yeah, I've kind of forgotten what the last bit of filming I did was. I think it was the end of turn 8, and things have pushed on a little bit since then. If we come down here to the turn track, you can see it's now the 26th of June, so about turn 11, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, start of turn 11, and you can see there that the Vichy have the initiative. They went second in turn 10, so they're getting the double turn essentially from going second and then first. And that's going to benefit them, especially out here in the desert where the Commonwealth have made another attempt to move forward. These Free French slid off to take out the remnants of the Vichy forces in Swedia, but with their forces split and no air base built yet, because construction's only possible in turns with the shovel in because of the turn length here in Reluctant Enemies, so you can only build every other turn. No air base built up here. Bombers came in, DG'd a unit which is gone, and DG'd that stack there. And that was a good unit as well. 643 Indian infantry battalion. And then this sort of strike force, a smaller version of the strike force but still potent, came in and wrecked that, and is now looking at this DG'd stack here with the Vichy having the initiative again. Might come in and rumble through that. On the other hand, what they fear is that then that leaves them stuck out in the desert with spotters right next to them, and the Commonwealth Air Force could return the favour, so they may back out of spotter range instead and slide back into their defensive positions up here and just rinse and repeat every now and then. Because it's a little costly on supply to do this moving and attacking business as well, and it's not like that's what they're short of, so they may retreat back to their lines and watch the build up again and see what opportunities arise. In here the Allies have tried to open up a new front but not got anywhere as yet. It does give them another angle down into Damascus, but I think the Vichy will slide round here without too much problem, and they've already started the process to try and block this off. And they've got defensible terrain because these road hexes have also got hills in, so that'll suit them. In the centre here, the Allies have really stopped pushing for the moment. The arrival of a load of Vichy reinforcements has made this look really not very likely, attacking through very rough terrain at horrible odds. Just an really unpleasant slog through here that they don't want to get caught up in, and they just took too many casualties trying to take Merjoyun to really feel confident of pushing on. Over here on the coast they have had the success. They've broken through on the river north of Sidon, so they're now holding that and looking at the next river line up to Demore, and these villages in here start getting worth points. So if having broken that river line, they're now into more points inland, and the Vichy have to start looking at how to defend not just a couple of river hexes but also the villages. And likewise the Commonwealth have to look at how not just to get along the coast, which is easy on these road stuff, but how to get supply up into these areas as well. So the challenges and puzzles facing both sides remain extremely interesting. I'm having non-stop doubts really about whether I've played the Commonwealth entirely effectively at all, or whether I should have concentrated purely on 2 theatres rather than try and push in all 3. But I really don't see how they have any more efficient or better interior lines than the Vichy, who are equally capable of swapping their forces, redirecting their forces between the different areas on the road and rail network. So I don't see how they can do that switch round effectively, unless they can really catch the Vichy short of supply, which is possible, I suppose, if they switched exclusively to one theatre and could really push hard. It might make it very difficult for the Vichy to switch forces and raise enough supply in that area to hold off. So it's possible that I'm doing this very, very badly for both sides, or just one side, or one or the other. But it feels like I've got a feeling that the Commonwealth is slowly running out of steam. They've got no reinforcements now arriving until turn 19, which is 2 turns from the end. So this is it. This is what they've got to play with in order to try and take 6 points worth of stuff for the draw, and Damascus is worth 4, and they're nowhere close to putting even a threat on Damascus. They've got a point in here for this place. They've got a point in here for Sidon, and they can maybe... Demore is worth 2, so if they could break that river line and get a couple of these villages, maybe they'd be on the draw. Tough ask for them at the moment. So I feel like the defenders, the Vichy, have the slightly upper hand here, and perhaps a more, a viable defence still in all 3 areas. But really loving it, and just going to keep ploughing forward turn by turn and see what I can come up with. But I've kind of run out of ideas for what the Commonwealth are supposed to do, apart from push on and see how things pan out.